Hello and welcome to another episode of Old Faces. I'm your host, Mr. Mocha, and I am here live in the studio with a good friend of mine, Chris Minx, another fellow lifestyle gentleman, swinger, aka super producer and cameraman. You know,
I don't know if we can go super producer cameraman yet.
I just
might have moved beyond neophyte to basic.
Listen, I just looked at your work. It's really good. So but he's humble, everybody. So that's the good thing about it.
Learning every day.
So this is a continuation of our first podcast. We actually had Lupe on from Lupe and Mr. They've been in lifestyle for some years. One of the things that we've discussed, or we haven't discussed, is the male emotional state in, the lifestyle. We're going to jump into that, but first I want to introduce Chris Minx and let everybody know a little bit about him, his lifestyle experience. So first things first, Chris, are you married or single?
I am very married. Married about 11 years, but been with her for 19 years now.
Okay. How long have you guys been in lifestyle?
That's the funny part of our story. I actually caught a unicorn in the lifestyle. So when I met Mrs. Minx, she was a single female on a swinger site. All she had was one butt picture, and I looked at that butt picture and I was like, man, I don't know what the rest of it looks like, but that ass is worth meeting.
Yeah, that is a good ass.
As a single guy in the lifestyle, it is very hard to get anybody to respond to you. And so I threw that email out there, wrote as charming as I could be, and said, you're probably getting 100 emails a day, but if you want to take a shot, I'd love to meet you sometime. She wrote back. That's the craziest part. She liked my smile, and I had a picture of me sitting on my Harley. She's a biker girl, so she loved the bikes.
Nice.
But our first date was at an on-premise swinger club in Baltimore, Maryland. And I always, when I tell people this story, I always like to say, the women are really in control of the lifestyle. They allow us men to have these incredible adventures because they own the vajayjay, right?
Yes.
So, true to form, women are in control. I had no idea what she still looked like. She had never sent me a face picture. So I went on a blind date. I went to this club with another single lady who was a friend. She was going to the club with a guy who was a friend and part of a couple. And she was their tag-along third. But she got to look at me in the club and decide, I like him in person, and introduce herself. Or she could have looked across the room and said, oh, hell no, I'm not going to introduce. I would have never known she was there. She hadn't done that. So the lady that I was with, she knew real quickly that she knew I was supposed to meet somebody there. She figured out who the girl was real quick and got very clingy all of a sudden. And so Angel had to kind of say, look for my opening to come introduce myself. And then when she kind of finally came over, she turned around, gave me a little butt wiggle and goes, her profile name was, and I'm like, oh, hello, miss. Mm-hmm.
The ass that you saw.
Yes. And we chatted for a few minutes, and then she went out on the dance floor, and I kind of watched her for a little bit. Next time I saw her, she came bebopping by. She had two other girls in tow, and she's like, we're going downstairs to a play. Would you like to come watch? And I'm like, that woman has the right mentality for me. So we had a vanilla date the next day. And here we are 19 years later. I've never gotten tired of this one. She is an incredible person and even more fun to watch in the bedroom or out of the bedroom.
I have to say, you are a better man than me. I guess I can't say that. I would... In the past, I would go on a date if I just got body pictures. But, I've gotten past... now I don't think I would go meet somebody unless I see their face first. But that's... I think, back when back in the day, there was less options for bullshit,
Right.
Technology didn't lend as much of a hand as it does today. So, yeah... I guess I can see that.
Now, I had been in the lifestyle previously.
So how long have you been in lifestyle?
I've probably been in the lifestyle 23 years, 22 years. I tried it with my first wife. And when we decided to part ways, she said, you can have the profile and the name. I'm not interested in doing it anymore. And I had found my people. And so I was like, yes. And so when I relocated to my new location, I tried to integrate myself into that local community. But of course, now I'm that cursed single male,
guy, yeah.
right? With no prior history. Nobody in that community knew me. And so I had to go build from the ground up that reputation. But I knew that was where I wanted to be. And I knew that's the type of future partner, if I was to ever commit to somebody again, they would need they would need to share that same philosophy or mentality on views of the lifestyle, open-minded, basically.
Yeah. Wow. So I think we've been in lifestyle for about the same amount of time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's really cool because, like, I also experienced the lifestyle first as a single guy, and then, as a married guy. So now the next question is, in the lifestyle, are you and your wife stag vixen? Is she just hot wife? What's your dynamic?
Our dynamic presently, because this has been a journey, and I'll back up real quick. Lifestyle with my first wife was nothing like what lifestyle is with the current wife. Just completely different worlds. And the journey, we started out as that we weren't married, but we were dating. I was never giving anybody half of the life that I had left. I told her that on the second date. She looked at me and she goes, well, whoever said that I wanted to marry you? I'm like, okay, good line.
Yeah.
But we dated almost 7 years before we finally actually got married. So we would go to things together when we lived close to each other, so much that everybody thought we were a married couple. So we interacted as a traditional lifestyle couple. She had bisexual tendencies, preferences. And so we were always looking for that, of course, another single female or the perfect couples, another male-female combination that we could swap and engage with. That worked really well until I got a job opportunity that moved me out of the area, another state away. Now, the nice thing about her is she said, I value this relationship so much, I would like to continue over a long distance. But distance in a lifestyle relationship can be a lot of challenge. And so as we worked through that, and then that job sent me on a lot of trips to a lot of places outside the United States. And so we morphed into a hot wifing scenario before we even knew what it was, because I just couldn't be present. My travels would keep me away for long periods of time. And women having sex, it's a production for them. They got to shave and shower and makeup and hair and lipstick, and they're going out to get laid. They put an effort into it. They want some. Guys, we pretty much will throw down whenever, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Wash the balls and we're ready to go. Yeah. So if a woman doesn't have to do all that effort, they're pretty comfortable sitting at home on the sofa just watching TV and, snacking. So knowing I was going to be away, I didn't want my sexy little vixen to dry up, if you will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Turn it off. Forget that she is a beautiful, sexy woman. And so the way I kind of figured how she could do that, go out with our friends. Be present on the weekends at the house parties, at the clubs. Do not sit at home and wait for me to be home. I'm good. I just want you to be good too, because if she turns it off, it's hard to get it started again.
Yeah. Yeah. That is.
So we fell into hot wifing that way. We actually commuted for 5.5 years. We got married before we ever shared a roof together. We were looking for an opportunity for her job to be able to travel south to where I was living, and that took some time. But we'd have a weekend at her place, a weekend at my place. We'd have the kids at another weekends, and then we'd also be at all the swinger resorts. We go on cruises. I think we've been on 9 or 10 takeover cruises. I think we've tried just about every resort at least once. So we carried on our lifestyle in these really fun places, and then during the week we did our normal work stuff, and we're a normal couple. So it made it sort of special that way. Now our current dynamic, we have pretty much become, we're still stag vixen, but we can morph into a lot of different scenes depending on who the people are, or what the scene might be. And in this last year, we got into content creation, which was it's our newest kink, because we've kind of tried everything else in the lifestyle, but we hadn't tried this, and so that's the new fun experience. And in this content creation, of course, everybody wants to see her. They're less interested in seeing me, and so I become the stag videographer, editor, clothing designer, logistics, planes, trains, automobiles. I mean, I'm the back office support in our current lifestyle situation, which means I get a little less sex, but I get a whole lot more interaction in watching her, which I thoroughly love to do.
So that is awesome. So now I like that you laid down, the foundation, where you start at, the different transitions. Now, the topic that we've been discussing, and because you and I spent a good amount of time together, and we've spoken a lot. I like the way you break things down. One of the things that I noticed is that the male emotion is not a thing that's really discussed. And there are so many different facets of the male emotion within the lifestyle community, because you have, the single males, you got husbands, you have stag vixen, like you and I, you have hot wife, same thing. We're very similar, where, I traveled, and that's how, exact same thing. Told my wife, okay, I'm gone 6 days a week, so that's how I start encouraging her to play. So I played as a single guy. But a lot of people completely forget the fact that, men have emotions too. The thing that I have observed is a lot of guys, or a lot of people in lifestyle, think that, it's just a guy, walk it off. Because in society, we're taught to just walk off our emotions. Hey, suck it up, buttercup. As dudes, we have 1,000 different things to say to another dude for him to walk it off. Okay, like, we have no mercy for one another when it comes to our emotions. The term "fuck your feelings" is a term that one dude said to another. Like, it has never been, it's not socially acceptable to look at a woman and go, fuck your feelings. That's some dude shit. Like, that's some shit that your buddy's saying to you when you've done something stupid and you're limping somewhere, and the other 3 of them are like, dude, walk it off. So in the lifestyle arena, no one really considers what a guy is dealing with. And, we can start with, we'll talk about husbands, because we're both husbands. Being able to deal with the emotions when you have that moment, the first time you see some dude fuck your wife really, really, really good. The first time you see that. Or when you're in a situation where you are watching her have fun, you're happy she's having fun, but you also would like to have fun, but you don't want to ruin her fun, because the emotions that we deal with, I think that's something that's not spoken about. So for you personally, how have you learned to manage your emotions as a husband in the lifestyle?
how have I learned to manage them? The learning part is been probably the best way to actually describe it. It is a learned behavior, but in any learning, you have to seek the knowledge, right? You can't just sit back and it happens. So as you deal with these feelings that come up, again, we can talk feelings now because it's like 2020, but even prior to 2020, as males, we were even acknowledged that we had feelings, right? Hey, you said suck it up, buttercup. That amount of acknowledgement, that didn't happen back when we were younger men.
Yeah, that's
so, when I had to experience, or when I found myself in those situations, imagine being overseas and watching. We were very advanced, so we had a camera set up so that I could tune in and watch playtime. But then to be isolated after the camera turns off, and now my head starts talking about, well, what pillow talk are they involved in? What's the next thing? What if I'm being left out of some of that, right? And so there's these feelings of doubt and the angst. I've heard it talked about in other podcasts and stuff like that. I'm dealing with those, and how do I, one, express them, and then two, who do I talk to? How do I learn? You got to go seek that out. And so that's a unique thing, because you can't just go talk to your normal street buddies about, hey, man, I just watched my wife get fucked by this guy. Man, did he give her the best cock of his life, right? And I don't think I can act like dudes were just like, what? You like, my head's turning around, right? So now you got to find your special audience. And I think that's where, at the time I was a younger man, there were other husbands who had been involved in the lifestyle longer, that I had developed relationships through the different parties and the social atmosphere and stuff like that I was able to go to them, because I'm seeking the knowledge now. And I would go to them and say, hey, have you ever had this happen, right? And it's sort of the safe way to bring up, I'm not talking about my feeling, I'm talking about an incident, right? How did you handle that type of incident? And then they would start to share. So I was seeking that knowledge out. And then as the internet got more profound and things got stronger, the Google, right? Yeah. You go to the Google, and what is out there as far as information. And that's where, again, seeking knowledge, I would find some of these podcasts that talked about different aspects of the lifestyle. And then the more refined aspects of the lifestyle. So when you talk about hot wifing or even cuckolding, I'd never even heard of the term, right? Then they have these podcasts that talk about these topics, and then in the midst of those topics, they get into some of the feelings that you might go through, and then how to talk about them or how to handle them. So that's where I got my education from, but I had to seek that out. It's learned is the key in how you ask that question. How did I learn about it? And I learned about it through active seeking of the knowledge. And I, like everything, you go to your subject matter experts. So,
you know, I have to say that you are a rare specimen in the lifestyle to seek that out, because I think in all the years I've been in lifestyle and all the couples we've met and all the parties we've thrown and all the things, I've probably met 4 people. Well, you and maybe 4 couples who actually did extensive research into the lifestyle. And so that's impressive, because, you know, once again, we're going back to, you know, it's just become socially acceptable for guys to really, you know, talk about their feelings. And this is in the vanilla world. This isn't even the lifestyle world. Because, you know, I think that guys mask, even within the lifestyle, they mask their feelings a lot more. And you touched on a really big thing, and one of the things that I'd experienced a lot, and I've talked to guys a lot about, was dealing with the feelings that they experience when they watch their wife play, or wondering when they give their wife the permission to interact with someone, another guy or another couple. They give her that they give each other permission to interact, but then they get into their head, and it's, you know, I'm not sure, you know, what's really going on. that part to me is what I've always found to be the most interesting, because as you start talking to people, that question, how is she really feeling? And, you know, men, we're supposed to be macho, and, you know, we're supposed to, you know, be and you got to remember that sensation also applies to you watching your wife fuck some dude. And yeah, you may give your wife the best dick in the world, but you're fucking her. It's different when you're sitting back and watching watching your wife make those sounds and those faces for someone else. It's different when you're watching your wife text messaging and giggling, or speaking and giggling to another person. And at this point, those are the conversations I have had most with men. And when we talk about managing those emotions, the problem is oftentimes guys lash out or husbands lash out in the wrong ways, where it's, you know, you're arguing about the kind of dog food she got, and that's not really your problem.
That is so true. It manifests it in another form or fashion, like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. That is key. I know. I come from an educational background in human psychology, so you know my studies led me down that road, and I dealt with. I learned to deal with people in crisis. Emotion is a powerful thing, and how people express that emotion and how it manifests can be in 1,000 different forms that can be completely way off the original mark of what is triggering them, right? But it's just how they come out. So as I go through from my first marriage, which I was equally culpable in the issues we had in my first marriage. We parted amicably and are friends to this day. We just celebrate Thanksgiving with my ex-wife. So that time between that separation and moving forward into the new life that I wanted, I had to do that whole introspection thing. I had to actually understand me and what my emotions were. Most men don't ever feel challenged in their life to do that for themselves, or have never been asked to do that. And they're born to repeat the same problems, right? That you're like, this is a problem with this girl, and this problem, this girl, and this girl. What's the unifying factor in here is you, right? But nobody ever wants to turn that mirror back and look at them. I was forced to do that as I decided to dissolve my first marriage. Why, when I'm not present, is it such a wonderful marriage, right? And why do I come into the picture and all of a sudden the garden starts to wither, is the analogy I like to use. So moving forward into my new relationship, I was a completely different person, and I was already done that work to understand me and my feelings. So then as we go through this lifestyle thing, I want to back up one other thing. Lifestyle, your relationship can't be completely based around the sex. Your relationship has to have a much broader foundation that makes you want to be with that person the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, I say marriage. It can be, shared partnership, however you define that.
Look at you trying to be.
No, I'm not trying
politically correct.
I'm not trying to be politically, because I swore I was never getting married again. Mm-hmm. I will love her. I told her, I said time and time, I will love you till the day I die, but I don't ever want to be legally responsible for you again. And that was just my mentality at that time frame, right? So I'm not trying to be political, because people do have relationships. I met some incredibly, and I was shocked to find out that they weren't actually married. So you can have that deep trust. There's something about the person that binds you together. Angel is my missing female half, as like I like to put it. And so having that understanding of our foundational, honey, if you can find somebody that you can have all of this other stuff with at the level of sharing that we have and the feelings we have, then they're better than me, and I want you to have them, right? So that's a transcended kink thing.
We're going to toast to that,
because I believe that nobody can love her better than I can. And that's what keeps her with me, because every day is a choice. And I tell her that you can choose to be with me, but I am not keeping you. I don't own you, and I can't force you to be with me. I want you to every day wake up and say, I'm happy that I'm with this guy.
Make that choice every single day.
Yeah.
And
because a lifetime is, 19 years together, I'm telling you, I've put this woman through some hell, and she still chooses to be with me, right? Yeah. I mean, I brought an ex and some stepchildren into this poor young lady's life, and she had to agree that, I'm signing up for all that.
Listen, it sounds like you're telling my story.
I know. I'm looking at you.
Telling my story. Like,
that one's striking close to home.
Yeah, listen, 100%. Because I and what you said is what have always used as the thing that keeps my emotion in the lifestyle. That's my foundation. I don't get insecure. I had a conversation with a lady before, and I was saying that I'm never insecure about my wife when it comes to another guy. And she said, well, because you're arrogant. No, it's not because I'm arrogant. It's because she chooses to be with me. And I truly feel like if my dick falls off tomorrow, my wife's going to still be here. If my wife gets sick, which she has been sick for a while, she even being ill, even when we couldn't have that sexual stuff, we still laugh, we still joke. I'm still smacking her ass. I mean, you've been around my wife when we are who we are. I mean, sex is an addition. So for me, it blows my mind that my wife chooses every single day to be with me, because I'm not the easiest person to live with.
Right.
I'm very aware of that.
Men in general aren't easy to live with.
Yes.
I'm told.
Yeah, so I've heard, And that being said, it's not arrogance that makes me not worry about it, but I always say, if she's mine and I'm hers, if someone can come in and take her from me, or if someone can come in and take me from her, we never belonged to one another. And so that is where I say it's not arrogance. It's just because I would never want her to be with me if she didn't want to be with me.
Right.
So for me, having that viewpoint and really truly believing it, as opposed to some guys who they have this stuff they say, but then you watch them when they see their wife playing, or you watch them in a lifestyle event, you can see, like, you can smell some dude's insecurity from across the room when his wife's having too much fun, or when the wife is clearly avoiding, certain types of dudes because that's going to make her husband insecure. So I know, no, buddy, you are still insecure. You haven't dealt with your emotions, and so you kind of jump right to the end of what I was thinking. That's what I use to stay emotionally grounded, and that's what I've always used. But going back to what you're saying about how guys kind of displace their emotions, the husband sees something, experiences something, and because he said, okay, we've agreed that we're going to be in a lifestyle. So, he can't get mad about the fact that, she came 3 times and kissed this guy in the mouth. He can't get mad about that, even though it pissed him off, even though he didn't like it. He couldn't stomach it, even though he said it was okay. So now he's waiting for something else, to be pissed off about, who left this shoestring in the middle of the floor, that happens. So have you seen that? Have you observed that when you're looking at other couples? Have you been able to pick out that guy or those guys who are struggling emotionally in the lifestyle? Have you seen them? and share, but don't use names.
Yeah, they almost use the wife as bait, right? Because they're trying to get laid themselves because they don't have, for whatever reason, the game, to interact and engage with a woman, to make themselves charming, if you will. So, they put and then you see them, right? All of a sudden, oh wait, the bait's doing really good. She's enjoying herself. Where do I stand now? Again, if you've come in on the wrong foundational level, if you're there now creating your own insecurities, and then you're forced to have those, you see them. It's the tense jerk of the elbow. I need to talk to you. Hey, let's go to the bathroom, right? And they head off to the bathroom together, and you come out and you can just see her kind of. You might get an eye roll from her, or the head should not. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Those are the times you're like, okay, they're not emotionally prepared for what's occurring. And then the worst ones are when you get into the bedroom, the playroom, wherever you are, right? And now you're naked, and things are starting to happen, and all of a sudden you're seeing out of the corner of your eye like he's distracted, and he's or he gets done early, and then there's.
Yeah, the head nod.
With a head nod, or worse is we heard something almost like he's calling a horse, like this like clicky thing, right? And she's like, I gotta go, and I'm like, what do you mean you gotta go? You're not done. I'm not done. She's like, no, I gotta go, he's right? So he's done, and now I'm pulling you out of it, right? Because I can't have you enjoying yourself. You just gotta kind of roll with it, right? You don't want to get involved. You don't want to be judging.
I'm judging.
But you can be supportive after the fact too. If you have that, and you still, you have a great interaction with the couple and everything like that. And again, this is, as I got older, I realized I got to do more. If I want this lifestyle that I love so much to carry on and flourish, I need to be able to mentor these young men coming into this, especially if they're bringing in a very hot woman. Because again, for a lady to get over all the social impediments, and there's a bunch, podcasts and things you guys have talked about that before, all the things that it takes for a woman to let down and enjoy her own sexuality. That's a gift that you as a husband or a partner are allowing her to do, because you're not controlling her, and you're honey.
Encouraging.
Right,
yeah.
Encouraging it. But then for her to get past all the other societal rules about that, great. You don't want to go hurt that and shut that.
For you to be the one to kick her in the crotch.
You don't want to kick her in the crotch and make that bad, right?
Yeah.
So we need to mentor these guys. And that's where, going back to that other example, that, hey, clicking to get her out of the room.
After you bust a nut, you just came, you just fucked my wife, you're done now. You look over, your wife is having fun, and like, oh, no. So, do me a favor.
You got to go find those guys afterwards, and you got to reapproach them.
Oh, you can't.
And you got to talk to them.
Listen, I'm
making a point to.
Listen, see, you are good.
I'm a transcendent male. I am a reformed curmudgeon. I am. I will reach out. In fact, if I'm having a problem, I will go to Angel and say, hey, I need to talk about some feelings that I'm having.
Absolutely.
And that gives her the context that, okay, male emotions are coming. Yeah. Stand by.
And that right there is the most important thing. I have never shied away from telling my partner what I feel. And this is just because I realized early on, because I was in the lifestyle before I met my wife, I watched the thing where you see the guy, he's upset because she don't want to play. He's upset when she does play. He wants to control every aspect of it. Okay, well, it's okay as long as you fuck to my specifications. I watched all of these things, and then there's also been the situations where I've watched a husband in a relationship where the wife was the dominant partner, the emotionally dominant partner, and him deal with these feelings kind of in private, and I've had guys who, like, literally, I've been fucking his wife for, months, and we've become friends. And he's like, hey, dude, can we go grab a beer? we go get a beer, and he's telling me his feelings, like, I get really uncomfortable, I have no say-so in this situation, and he's like, spilling on me, and that's happened multiple times where someone spilled on me, and I realized, like, have you spoken to her? And it was weird. It's weird, like, in the beginning, because, I got into this in my early 20s. And it was just super strange for me, like, the first time to have some dude who was, like, 15 years older than me having an emotional moment next to me. And you got to think, in my early 20s, wow. I was like, in my mind, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But of course, don't judge me. At that time, I just wanted to make sure I can continue fucking his wife. So, like, I gotta be cool here. But, like, otherwise, like, dude, you are fucking up a lot of guy codes here. Like, you're sitting here having this emotional moment. Like, you're not my brother. Like, yeah. You're not a family member. You're not, like, a super, super best friend. Like, I'm only fucking your wife, dude. And then, like, but I'm listening because I want to continue fucking his wife. And then, as I matured, while maturing in the lifestyle, while maturing as a man and staying in the lifestyle and listening and having these constant spillovers of, husbands who were saying things to me, I wish I could say this to her, it's difficult for me to watch her come with you like this. Then I started asking those questions. Well, have you talked to her? No. Have you spoken to her? No. Have you talked to her? No. So you haven't talked to her? No. Because if I say this is going to be the problem. Well, does she tell you how she feels? Yes. Yes, she tells me. So my first thing with my wife was like, we talk about everything. If I have an insecure moment, you're my wife. It's your job to reassure me. And that right there is a major violation of man code. Oh, you need to be reassured, your pussy? Yes. Yes, I do need reassurance from my wife. That's my partner. That's my other half.
Right.
So I was not afraid. I've never been afraid if I have a moment of misunderstanding, a moment where something just made me feel wrong. I didn't like the way it felt. I don't know why I didn't like it, but I didn't like it. But after listening to all of these guys, all of the wives I played with, talking to their husbands, no, I'm going to talk to my wife. But that's hard. It's very difficult for a man to go to another dude about his emotions. It's way harder for most men to go to their wife about their emotions, because most men, they were married before they got in the lifestyle. And at some point they totally disregard their wife's emotions about shit. And so now you don't want to, you feel like, it's against man code for me to go and spill on my wife. But in the lifestyle, you have to.
I think that's one of the benefits that the lifestyle gives you, is that ability to have that complete openness. I'm supposed to be able, in lifestyle code, right? I'm supposed to be able to look at somebody and say, oh my God, that girl is fucking hot. I would love to have sex with her. And my wife should say, like, yeah, I agree. That would be pretty cool, right? And be okay with that. That's the kind of openness. So there shouldn't be that hesitation to talk about the feelings. But especially if you were married and then you got into the lifestyle together, right? The history that you have of the lack of shared emotion or that lack of discussion is critical to overcome. That's probably one of the hardest things I think couples actually have, is that the acceptance by each of them to accept what the other person needs to share or needs to say, and then listening to it. Because again, it's one thing to talk, right? To bro code and, have the verbal diarrhea and, break down and all that kind of stuff. But to actually listen to what the person is saying to you and acknowledge what they've told you. Because you can go spill to your wife, and if she doesn't tell you, hey, I need to be reassured about the pussy here, right? Yeah, you're good, right? I'm good, you're good. If she doesn't, she's like, no. that could do a whole lot more damage to
Oh, God, yeah.
that willingness, that the feather, not the white flag. Like, hey, I need to share something, and I'm going to risk doing that as a man. Mm-hmm. And then you do it, and then you get negatively or not affirmed.
You don't get the confirmation.
You don't get that confirmation, right? It becomes a negative instance. You're like, well, the hell if I'm ever going to share anything with her again. Mm-hmm. I deal with that every day. Not every day, but I mean, in my own life, and I go like, oh man, I'm feeling like I need to kick the dog today. Mm-hmm. Hey, honey, I feel like kicking the dog today. Well, she's an animal lover. She's like, don't you ever kick it. I'm like, that's not really what I was talking about, right?
I'm having a moment.
I'm having a moment, but understand I'm upset, and it's not at you. I'm just upset about it, right? Mm-hmm. And if she acknowledges that properly, you can move through the moment. Mm-hmm. If you don't get that proper acknowledgement, so then you throw sex on top of that, and it's something with that, now you're just laden with...
sex and ego.
Sex and ego is a big one too.
You're right. With men, a lot of it is ego because I hate to say it, it just comes down to that thing where
society's role.
Well, that's another big thing. But let's just skip to the one thing. I've been fucking this woman. I'm in love with this woman, and now I see someone else please her, and now I'm wondering, is he doing it better than me? That to me is like, that is the thing where for guys, a lot of, and I know it affects women as well. I know because can't tell you how many times I've heard, look,
does her pussy feel better than mine?
Yeah. Do our pussies feel the same?
How's my blowjob compared to hers?
Oh yeah. You lifted her and bounced her like 4 more times than you usually bounce me. I mean, is her pussy good enough to make you stronger? I mean, like, is she 4 pounds light? So yeah, we understand that happens too, but we're talking about the male emotion and the crazy thing that goes through guys' heads and the reasons. And you're right, you have societal norms, you have ego, and like I said, keep it real simple. Like, if you're in a lifestyle and you are a full swap couple or a hot wife couple or a cuckold couple, any dynamic where you watch your wife get fucked, and the problem, this is what's hard, you may watch her get fucked 30 times before you see somebody really, really do it well. And before you really see that look of pleasure that she's only giving you, and now you're like, oh my God. She's really like, that's the day that tests you out. That's the day that tests your resolve. And for the guys out there who've experienced it, they've all experienced it. For the guys who've experienced it over and over and over again, and you're wondering, are you the only person that feels that way? You're not. The only thing is, for me and my wife, we have a conversation after sex. Anytime we play outside, we always talk about it. All these years later, we always talk about it. Always. We always have a conversation. Because to me, number one, that's what separates sex from intimacy. If my wife goes and have a play date, and she comes back and she tells me all about it, she wasn't keeping anything between her and him. Right. The intimacy is between her and I because she's sharing everything with me. The physical part, sex is sex. I'm not worried about the physical part, but the emotional part for me that's everything. And that to me is what transcends sex, transcends anything physical. So if we have everything else together, that's not going to make me go crazy. But for most guys, it's 100% sex that, dealing with his wife playing with someone else. Most guys is dealing with his wife actually experiencing physical pleasure with someone else. with most women, the fear is also emotional, because I know that women will often say, well, you don't know how women are, she may want to take you.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as dudes, we're not usually worried about somebody taking our wife, because we live with her and we know you don't want those problems.
Right.
We're worried about you fucking her so good that she loses her mind. And so that's where a lot of guys get emotionally testy. Now, don't get me wrong, you will have some husbands out there who will get concerned in certain dynamics, because I've had that conversation with guys where, she acts like she doesn't want me anymore, blah blah blah, and your past lifestyle issues too, but cock should never make your wife want to leave. Okay,
right?
That's not a thing. So
no,
it shouldn't. Cock,
you have bigger relationship issues than just your dick.
Yeah, exactly. Like he got the one thing. You're worried about her leaving for that one thing, the cock. That's it. Nothing else, huh? So that, circling back, where do you tell a guy, what do you tell a guy who's in a situation where he wants to be in a lifestyle, he enjoys the lifestyle, but he's just having a hard time figuring out a way to or he's never even thought about expressing himself to his wife concerning how he feels when she plays or when she interacts with other people?
Man, if they can't do that one-on-one, if they don't feel comfortable, that's what you're talking about, right? That they don't feel comfortable going, hey, honey, I need to talk to you about this situation, this feeling I'm having, right? You really got to have a third party who has the foundation or the background, an experienced male in the lifestyle, to vent that through or to run that through first, and then maybe even, did you really just
I did
missed your mouth?
I just did that. I spilled a good amount of that all over me.
The best part was the shock of the cold look, wet hitting your shirt, hitting your skin when you did that.
How did I not get? This is clearly my fourth glass. That's why I misjudged.
We are not drinkers, and we're having a drink as we're discussing tonight.
Yes.
And it's pretty obvious.
Yes,
somebody has been affected. But circling back, I think you really got to sit down. Studies have shown, and we're well into the 20s now, in 2020 and beyond. We now know that everybody has emotions, and not finding a way to vent that emotion in a healthy manner, the emotions will come out. They have to be expressed. That is just part of our genetics, right? You cannot hold all of the, and the military is a good example of this, right? All that, the PTSD, all the emotion of war that our veterans have gone through, and they come back in the United States and like, I'm going to turn it off, right? I'm good. No, it comes out in usually destructive manners, but at a minimum in not safe manners. And so let's get beyond that, guys. Bro code's gone. Find somebody that you can confide in. You have to have, there's one person in your life, your mother, your father, your spouse, your best friend. There is somebody in your life. And if you can't find one person, you can call the phone and say, hey, I got to talk to somebody. There are numbers out there that, I don't want to talk about suicide on this, but if you are in such turmoil with your feelings that you can't talk to somebody or can't find somebody, your church, you can walk in any church and the pastor or the minister or somebody, there's always somebody for you to just let it out. So in the lifestyle situation, if you are so scared to bring this up with your wife, there's probably a couple, or at least a female or another male, that you can say, hey, I really need to talk to my wife about this. You and I have talked about this, or I think you would be a good third-party mediator, essentially what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And sit down with that. We have found, Angel and I have found ourselves in that situation with couples that are struggling, and they're like, oh, and we've gotten the conversations, the friends conversations. Hey, bro, can I have that beer with you? I need to tell you about some stuff. Here's some things I'm feeling, right? And I'm like, is that really going on with you? Have you talked with her about it? And like you said, no, I haven't. I think you should. Can I help you? Mm-hmm. Right? There are people in the lifestyle. That's the best thing about this, besides the sex and all the fun parties. The best thing about it is the relationships that you can build with people that you would never have. I don't have these conversations with my own family members, right? Because I could never have that conversation. But you and I can chop it up over whatever, and I can share things with you because we're transcended. We're at a whole different level, right? There's somebody in the lifestyle that you've come across that you can talk to about this stuff. And you just have to get over your own ego. It goes like what you said earlier. For the males, it's ego. For the women, it's the heart. Right? You got to get over your own ego and say, I'm having trouble. Everybody says this is so good. I'm not feeling really good about it. And why? Because I can't talk to my own wife about my feelings. All right. They're going to come out someplace, and it's either going to be you're going to get burned as a reputation of the couple because you're the dick. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's great, but he's a real dick, right? And we have those conversations. You don't want to get labeled with that. So you've got to find that person and talk to them. Share these emotions. We've all been there, and we all have them in some shape or format. I always like to tell everybody, this is my stupid analogy, right? I kind of lucked into owning a Ferrari. And boy, when I got my Ferrari, I was doing great things with that Ferrari. And that Ferrari was humming like a champ, right? But things happen, life goes on. The Ferrari sits in the garage a little long, starts getting all dusty and gets shined up. I wanted to go back out. And somebody else comes along and goes, hey man, I like your Ferrari. Yeah, you can admire it. You want to take it for a test drive. And then all of a sudden, I see them have my Ferrari do things that I've never made it able to do before. Rather than get ego on that, go back and go, how did you do that? What did you do different? Become that constant life learner. If you're all about ego for you, all right, that guy's got a better whatever. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. Can I do that? Work to become the better man when it comes to that sex stuff. Because there's never, you might be great one day, and the next weekend, you fail to show up, right? Oh, yeah. You didn't get enough sleep. I ate crappy, whatever, right? We are not A game every time, and our women aren't as well. Mm-hmm. And so that one night in that situation with that one guy where she came 10 times and made those incredible faces, it was the perfect situation. But it can't be duplicated. Mm-hmm. We chase it like a drug. We're always looking for that high again. And that's a lot of times what pushes couples to do different things in their journey through the lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. Chasing that next great moment. But it's just a moment, and it can't be duplicated. So then you got to go back to what that foundation is. Mm-hmm. And that foundation is built by sharing your feelings with your most significant person, your wife, your spouse, your partner, whoever that might be. But it takes a lot of work to get there because you got to get your ego out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's our job as senior members. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a senior member. Yeah. You're a mid-level. When you get to upper management of the lifestyle like me, and you can do nothing but be an ambassador, you got to start reaching out and mentoring these young souls and tell them, hey, dude, I'm going to come in, I'm going to hug you, and I'm going to tell you it'll be okay. Go value that woman for what she is in your life. And share.
So now here's the next question, because we catch the male emotion, especially in the lifestyle with couples from different angles. The thing that we really focus on today is, when we're in a situation where you have a guy who cannot or will not or is not comfortable sharing his emotions. I always call it emotional management. We all have emotions, but it's how you manage them. Like you just said, emotions will always, at some point, they're always going to come out. So another thing that I've seen, and me and Mrs. Mocha have had plenty of conversation with couples, we've seen situations where the husband may have wanted to share those emotions with his wife, but she was in. And I know people don't believe this is true, but in every relationship, you have a partner who, so to speak, has the emotional advantage. You have the the partner who is the stronger, who is more of a dominant, and I don't mean that in a sexually dominant way, but you have a partner who tends to get their way. If you were both going back and forth, one of them is ahead of the house.
Yep.
And in a situation where the husband is afraid to upset his wife, and she has the power in their dynamic, and he's trying to figure out a way to address the issues that they're having. That one is the one that I found the most interesting, because you have a husband who, and we don't edit on this podcast, so I'm not going to start today. You have a husband who has no balls. Okay, you're not in a relationship. You're not in a established cuckold relationship or a female-led relationship, but you're in a situation where you don't speak to her about this because you're afraid that if she doesn't get her way, she's going to remove the lifestyle from you, or she's not going to be nice to you, quote unquote. And it exists.
And they usually don't last very long, because they end up failing. The relationship itself, outside of the lifestyle, will usually fail because you can start out and like, oh, life is great. I always make the joke about, like, I need a sugar mama, right? I would do anything. If I just said somebody wanted to pay for my life, and I'd just do whatever they wanted to say. Yeah, that sounds great on paper. But when you get into that, right, it's the relationship is going to fail unless you can find that way. And if the female in that situation can't get out of her own emotional dominance and listen to what their partner is expressing or trying to express, it's not going to work in a lifestyle, because couples aren't going to. If you see that at a party, right, you might try it one time, you might try it a second time, you might let them hang around and stuff like that, but that's the drama couples. Yeah. And that's everybody
knows who they are.
We don't want any drama. Don't bring me your drama to my party, that kind of thing, right? This is the drama couple, and everybody can see it. It's partnership. Mm-hmm. It takes two. Rare are the singles that get to come in and interact and have all this stuff, right? It takes two. And so if they can't find that way, they're not going to last. So then it becomes how much effort as the male. I want to stay in the lifestyle, but I really need my feelings acknowledged and heard. I will try whatever methods. I mean, you can even go to professional counseling and try to talk about it like that in a setting. But if you don't, or that person is never willing to accept to it, you are, as much as you want to be in the lifestyle, you are doomed to fail, because your relationship at its foundation has a lot of cracks in that foundation and will eventually crumble.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you'll see a lot of people, who are in and out of the lifestyle, the ones who, they take 1,000 breaks throughout the course. I mean, and their breaks not based upon, happenstance, or, you got kids to raise, or your job is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just that, there's always a problem. After every interaction, there's a problem. And, it's funny, just like you said, those are the same people who will call me and ask, hey, why didn't you invite us to your party? Because you guys are fucking dramatic. You got to be kidding me. Are you really asking me that? Didn't I have to pull you aside the last party because you guys were screaming at each other on my goddamn back deck? No, I'm not inviting you back. It's those people, or it's the people where, it's, you can feel it. You can feel the energy coming off.
They'll kill a party energy. If they come to your party, right, you might have this. It's so hard as a host to throw a good vibe that gets people to spark off and have that, stuff happen. It's that couple that comes in and brings that energy. People feel it, and it really it could keep a party from just becoming a weekend barbecue or an actual swinger party.
Yeah, listen, we've literally had those in this very space that we're standing in, where we've had a couple come in and their energy is so fucked up that it really just it's like a warp. It's like a warp in the universe right there by him. Like it's just like it's radiating and it's making people uncomfortable. And in this situation, because we can choose which couple is being the asshat at any time, but in a situation where you have a male who is afraid to confront his wife because he's afraid that, oh, I don't want to say anything to her because, if I, if I say anything, then, she's already said she's willing to give up the lifestyle, and I don't want to give up the lifestyle. It's like, dude, fucking cowboy up, get out of the lifestyle if you need to. She's using this as a tool and a weapon. Have the real conversations, have the hard conversations. And if the lifestyle don't work out, it don't work out. The lifestyle is not a thing that you have to help band-aid your relationship. The lifestyle is not even a thing that you do when you're having turmoil in a relationship.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah, the absolute worst thing you can do. If we're having problems, if we're having severe problems, chances are I'm not gonna like you laughing when you're watching a TV show you enjoy, let alone watching you, have sex with somebody else and having a great fucking time. You got to be kidding me. So, I mean, this is not for when you guys are having issues. Lifestyle issues are things that, they're things that once you have them, you should be able to identify, have a conversation. And ladies, just like we tell guys that, you have to extend yourself for your wife and her emotional state. If you've never had a conversation with your husband about his emotions, all right, you may listen. If I'm speaking to 10,000 women, only about 100 of you are going to have a husband who legitimately has never had an insecure moment while you were playing. All right. So if you got 10 friends and all 10 of you ask your husband, has he ever had an insecure moment? And 9 of them said no. It's a lot of lying motherfuckers in your group. Just understand that. Okay. If you've never had that conversation, have it. Ask them when. Ask them, and dudes and their emotions are weird. It'll be, oh, no. Well, I kind of, there was this one time I wasn't jealous or nothing, but there was this one time, when, so-and-so was really, but you can also ask those questions, talk to them, ask them to tell you about those moments. But here's the thing. If your husband is willing to tell you about his emotional state, there's 2 things that's going to keep him from sharing. Number 1, he don't want to hurt your feelings. So if he says something to hurt your feelings when you ask him about his emotional state, ladies, you suck it the fuck up. Listen to him. Because just as hard, whatever punch you think you receive when he shared his feelings, if he don't usually share them, he's been holding that shit in, and he's 10 times more afraid or uncomfortable than you are. Because if you lose it or chastise him when he's sharing with you, now he's gonna bottle that shit up, and it's gonna stay bottled up. You have to reward good behavior. He may share some emotions about a time, about a thing that you thought was silly. Oh, yeah, it was stupid. You were worried about me doing that. Don't say that. Don't do it. Nope. Because it's a very sensitive time. And contrary to popular opinion, men and women, we have the same emotions. We just manage them differently. And men are taught to pretend like you don't feel pain. I grew up with 5 sisters. I fell down a flight of stairs. My dad looked at me and went, My sister fell down one stair, and you would have thought that he was going to call the medevac. That's just how we are. That's how we were raised. I mean, like, I fall off a bicycle, I'm bleeding, I need stitches. My dad slowly walks to the, hey, you're bleeding on my car. Put something on that. I mean, my sister has a hangnail, and he's like, oh, my God, come here. we're wired differently. So if that guy who's never shared his emotions with you decides to share, be delicate with him. Now, if you got a husband that shares all the fucking time, you know, that's different. You know, you're used to it, and
you're used to it. The one thing that you do bring up, though, going back, hey, guy, you're afraid to bring this up to your wife. Women, that is something to consider. If you would like to take your relationship to an enriching level or a different level, have that opportunity and ask those questions. Give them the chance to share with you. You might all of a sudden go, man, I like this guy. You've given him that moment and that opportunity to, by asking those questions and allowing him, giving him permission to actually share his feelings. And that could be the next level of your relationship that could make your lifestyle journey even more rich, even more fruitful. Just as a perspective. I kind of forget about the women on this because we're talking guy stuff, but yeah, ladies, that's a big one.
Yeah.
If you got a man who's closed off, you can come to him and go, hey, I was really enjoyed that tonight, but what did you feel? Did you have a problem with any of that? You know, something, it can be very, and then like you said, be respectful, be willing to listen, don't be judgmental. Mm-hmm. If somebody's sharing something that's really hard for us to do, listen, don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I have realized, you know, I've talked to people all the time. I have a really good friend. You know, he's challenged with the fact that he enjoys watching his wife play, but it bothers him at the same time. And he has a hard time dealing with that. I have another friend who's really doesn't want to be in a lifestyle, but if his wife doesn't get some strange cock, she's going to make his life hell. And he doesn't know what to do about it. It's, you know, so he bottles up his emotions.
Yeah.
And he bottles up his emotions and they explode at work. They don't explode at home because she's the powerhouse in the relationship.
Right.
But he explodes at work and he winds up having challenges at work. Now, of course, she doesn't realize that, you know, if she's not helping him out at home and he loses that, you know, that really big income that's keeping her at home getting that extra cock that she wants. He's gonna, you know, he's on the verge of losing his job right now. And we had a conversation about it, and it all circles back to the fact that he doesn't really want to do this, but she's not giving him an option not to do it. And he can't express his emotions to her because she just doesn't give a fuck, according to him. Yeah. You know, and then we have the other guy where he really likes being in a lifestyle. He pressures his wife to play. She plays. He loses his shit. She doesn't want to play. Then he loses his shit. Then she plays because he enjoys seeing it. But then he has to compare himself to everybody who she's having sex with. And so, you know, now when him and I have conversations, it's like, whoa. All right. Let's start step 1, 2, 3. Why are you insecure? What are you thinking about? You know, has she ever given you any reason to think she's going to leave? I see this woman around you. She worships you. She loves you. Like, has she given you a reason to be insecure? No. So, you know, the insecurity is within you. Yes. Okay. Should she be punished for it? No. You know, what are you going to do to make your, like, so we go through all these different things, you know.
Yeah.
But it took him a very long time to come to someone and say, dude, like, and his words were, bro, I don't want to sound like a bitch, but have you ever had this happen to you? This is like the start of his conversation. He called, and ladies, this is how dudes talk when we want to talk about our emotions. Like, hey, you know, and there's a lot of other stuff that we say that, you know, would be offensive to others if they heard it, but it's just, you know, there's always that precursor to sharing your emotions.
The caveat that emotions are coming. Yeah. The caveat is coming here.
Yeah, like, and that's it. So, you know, I think that you know, just being willing to be open and understanding, fellas, that you do have emotions. They're going to have to come out. They're going to have to be managed. They have to be dealt with. And this is just the married part. We're only talking about the not married, or the guys who are in relationships, rather. You know, because we haven't got to the single guys yet.
Oh, boy.
You know, we haven't got to those guys yet. We haven't got to, like, we haven't even stepped into outside of the swinging part. You know, the husbands who deal solely in hot wife, the husbands who deal solely in cuckolding. We haven't even dove into that. We're just talking about, you know, just an overall lifestyle husband dealing with his spouse or partner, you know, playing with others, you know, and him managing those emotions.
Right. The lifestyle is about two things. It's about the physical and it's about the emotion. They are symbiotic. They are married together. They're tied to one. You can't do one without the other. They just don't exist solo.
Mm-hmm.
So understand that going in. And if you haven't considered that, talk about it when you start to experience it.
So what you're saying is that if you're going to get into lifestyle, most people are just thinking about the physical, but the big thing that they don't think about is the emotional piece.
Absolutely. Especially men, because, right, all we're thinking about is the vajayjay, right? We want pussy. We want strange pussy, right? Oh, my God. That's what's awesome.
Too true. Now, I have to thank you so much, Chris, for coming in. And, you know, Chris is actually in the studio with me, you know, one of my friends who came to visit, so we decided...
Beautiful opportunity. We'd take advantage of it.
And Chris is going to be on with us a lot more. You know, Mrs. Mocha and I took a big break for a while, so, you know, now that she's starting to feel better, and now that, you know, and during the break, I've had more time. It's crazy. During my break from having a whole lot of sex, I've had a lot more time to talk to people in the lifestyle, and I've had so many more people share experiences with me, email, from, you know, different sites, and the questions that people are asking, the challenge that they're having. And right now, over the last year, I've had more conversation with guys about their emotions that I've had in probably the last 5 years combined.
But you have that persona. I think now, as I've got to know you, you have that trusting persona, so that, and you have that wisdom persona. Your podcast, the research you've done, the liaisons with all the different people you have. You are that mentor who can be approached as these guys have these questions. And that's what makes you special about that. So that's why. You left
out all the dumb shit and mistakes that I've
made. Every mentor is a mentor because don't do what I did. Let me tell you about the time I made this mistake. Right? That's part of what. Yeah. That's why the older guys are the ones that are good to approach on this. Yeah. You go talk to a 20-year-old. He does not have the life experience that you and I have. He has not been in the emotional cauldrons
yes.
that we have been in. I mean, when you're on a cruise ship with 4,000 other swingers, you talk about emotions. You see it all over this crazy ship. And that's an experience that other people haven't had. So I can draw from those experiences and listen to you and share back. You might find that kernel of truth, that little glimmer of hope that gives you that, I hadn't thought about that. That's another way I can consider this. And it might enrich your journey. Or you might just be a bullshit. And you're sending me out the door going, man, what a fucking... It's like that guy is. He don't know anything.
Probably not. You know, that's... Your ability to process information and share experiences in a way that educate is one of the reasons that I'm excited to have you as part of the team, and I'm excited to have you in here more often. And, you know, usually we do a lot more shit talking, and, you know, usually guy stuff just winds up being funny, but this has been a subject that I've just had so many conversations about male emotions over the last year. Like, it's from every angle, every aspect, dude. Like I've, from teary conversations to angry conversations to frustrated conversations. Guys who fuck the lifestyle. I don't want to do this. This is just, and all of these things that stem from the inability to manage emotions or the inability to communicate their emotions. It's either you can't manage your emotions or refuse to communicate those emotions, or both. Or
acknowledge. Do they refuse to even acknowledge their emotion?
Dude,
that they have emotion?
That's standard issue.
There's still
that's most dudes.
Right? That's still the curmudgeon, right? Who's like, I don't feel anything.
Yeah. I'm the thing that I think the thing I hate the most. Well, as a man, shut the fuck up. There you go. Yeah. As a man, I'm not supposed to say I feel like. Well, there you go. So now you're allowing society to dictate what makes you a man or not a man, and so now you're already telling me how weak you are because you're telling me as a man
you've given up your power.
Yeah,
because society says as a man, no.
So you're giving me excuses. So I mean, and you know how we are. We talk direct. We talk without all the fluffy shit. Now, don't get me wrong. We give fluffy shit to people outside of our circle, so they don't think we're assholes. But amongst our friends, we talk without the fluffy stuff. And we're gonna be coming back to you guys with more man talk without the fluffy stuff. We're gonna talk about our emotions and not like men. We're going to talk about our emotions, but not like the average man. That note, Chris Minx, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure. I hope everybody got something out of this. Look forward to speaking with you all again.
And this is Mr. Mocha. We will talk to you guys again here on O Faces. And as usual, if you want to hear other episodes, tune in on Google, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Have a great night.